Well, hi, I'm Robert Noel. This is an E open blues journey. The open E blues minor scale. Now, we've already covered major scale. We've covered the major blues scale. You should be understanding the dominant 7 open scale and, of course, the minor scale. We're dealing with open position. So when I say open position, I mean that we're dealing with the E open chord here. This is your E chord. And there are other E chords. You have other E's, other variations of your E chords that you need to learn. Dealing in open position, we're saying we're dealing with open strings. That puts it in open positions. Some people would call this a caged E chord system, like your bar chords. I call it coming from form 2. It's a form 2. If I was to play my form 2 E scale up here, this is the same thing. Form 2, we kind of bridge into form 3. You need to be understanding or seeing your intervals in the major scale, the major blues scale, the dominant scale, the minor scale. But right now we're going to focus on the E minor blues scale. So let's go through the intervals. In E, we have 3 roots. Your E chord, you got 3 roots. You got E, and an E. The blues scale starts with open E. We go to the minor third, which is G, open A, which is your 4th, and then the tritone is your flat 5. So that would be your B flat. Then we go to B, and that's your perfect 5th. Open D is your 7. So you got your 7 open D, and then you're back to root. Open G is the minor 3rd. A is our perfect 4th. We put the 3rd finger down for that tritone. Yes, that flat 5. Then we go to open B, which is your perfect 5th. And then we go to your minor 7, which is D, or dominant 7. And then we're back to root. Now we're in the area where we could also put our 3rd finger down on G again, and that would give us a minor 3rd. Open E minor 3rd, open E, minor 7 or dominant 7. B is our perfect 5th. Our tritone is B flat. Tritone is flat 5. And then, well, we could also play a 5 here, which would be B, but we're doing open, wanting to realize that there are some closed notes in this area of the open position also. So B, we're going to call it open for now. We're going to go to the tritone, which is your B flat. Your A is your perfect 4th. Open G is your minor 3rd. And then you're back to E. Once again, D is your minor 7 or dominant 7. And then we go from D to B, perfect 5th. We go to the tritone, the flat 5. Then we go to open A, which is your perfect 4th. G is your minor 3rd, and you're back to root. I can relate this blues scale that I just played to either an E chord or an E minor chord. Why? Because I have the same root, and I also have a minor 3rd that is part of the minor scale, but it's also the blue tone if we combine it in a 12-tone system with other scales. The minor 3rd gives us the blues. It's something to realize and consider calling the minor 3rd a blue tone, or at least realizing why. Then we go to our perfect 4th, which is in all of your scales, being perfect. Then the tritone, that's unique, that flat 5. That tritone, that's unique to the blues scale. This is very important you realize this, the uniqueness of the tritone. And then you're to your perfect 5th. So those 3 notes right in a row, perfect 4th, tritone, perfect 5th. Right? Perfect 4th, tritone, perfect 5th. If I extend it up here, I could go perfect 4th, or I could use an alternate fingering and go perfect 4th, tritone 5th. Now I'm using my 1st finger, I'm out of position, and I'm using my 1st finger for this extended minor 3rd. The minor 3rd gives me access, if I use this fingering, the extension of the perfect 4th, tritone, perfect 5th. scale. It lends itself to both major and minor because the perfect fourth and the perfect fifth are shared. You're sharing the Bs. And when you hit the tritone, like I said, the tritone's unique. You're hitting the Bs, which are your perfect fifths, and then you're going to your dominant 7 or minor 7. Well, that belongs to the minor scale. But if we put it to the major scale and replace the major 7 with the dominant 7, we have what's called the dominant 7. And that would be for your E7 chords. You would find your D notes. So you would have different variations of your E chord. Adding that D in there gives you E7. Okay, and then we could talk about other adding notes, the 9s that we can add. And we can add, of course, suspension, suspended fourths. We can add 6s, minor 6s, minor second. You know, there's a whole bunch of intervals we can add. Even that tritone. It's nasty, that tritone, I'll tell you. But anyways, getting back to the blues scale, know the intervals that you're playing. And you want to know the intervals in your chords. That's why knowing arpeggios is so important. If I do an E arpeggio and I do E and I add that minor third, right? I add a perfect fifth, a root, and then maybe I even add the D, which gives me a minor 7. Back to minor third, right? Open B is the fifth, E. So I've got my minor triad right there. So there's so much can happen out of this fingering I'm using. My third finger on this, a minor third, I can hammer, I can pull off, I can hammer on, pull off, pull-offs, trills. We look at different techniques that we can use. That tritone. If I put my root here now, put my fifth here in B instead of open B. And by sliding into that root, we like to do that in the blues a lot. We can't slide an open string, but we can slide if we, instead of putting the E as open, we bring it into extending the open blues scale, and we can slide that. Just like we can add these extra notes, which become very functional when we're playing blues. So I'm using some alternate fingerings, you can see. And then my third finger, get that tritone in there. And that fourth is a great bending note, right? We can't bend the open A, but we can trill the tritone to the minor third. Hammering the perfect fifth to the open D, which is your 7. 7 in the open E. You look at my picking down, up. A little distortion on here. The groove feeling I'm putting on these notes. It's slow blues. I can hug in on that perfect fifth. We've got a lot of bass lines that come out of this blues scale. Like what I call a minor shuffle. So that's really cool. That open A. So we've got all that really cool stuff going on with. And then we've got that open E, that root to that minor third open. So you got pull-offs. Pull-offs, hammer-ons. Your B. I love grabbing that E. That tritone. I'm trilling. Pull off the tritone to the open A, minor third. So there's so much we can do. The typical Chuck Berry riff, where you're pulling the perfect fourth up to a B, open E. And then you've got that 7 minor. Gets us into the Hendrix world, right? And then sliding into that root gets us into the blues of Albert Collins, B.B. King, Freddie King, Albert King, and then the types of bends. Are you doing the big Albert King bends? Bending that 7, minor 7, to a root. I'm pulling down on that fourth to a fifth. I can overbend. Overbends are big time blues. So you work on phrases and you learn that you can hug on notes like your minor third and blues and bend and your minor 7 and even your perfect fourth. You can do things, nuances with your perfect fifth. And that tritone, that brings us out into that world of gloom, of mixed up trump. I call it my trump tone, tritone. It adds dissonance. It's not nice. But it's a leading tone because it leads from to the perfect fifth or down to the perfect fourth. Up to perfect fifth, down to fourth. Perfect fourth, tritone, perfect fifth. Now, I could also, instead of using all of the major E chord stuff, I could be dealing with minor chords. And this minor blues scale works just the same as it does with an E chord, because I have those special notes in there, that tritone and that minor third blues tone. And that actually the minor 7, I call that a blues tone also. To me, that's like a teal. It's a teal color. It's a mixture of blue, a gradient. Because we can do so much with that note. We can, same thing with the 4th. We can, you gotta pull off to that minor 3rd. Now, my guitar isn't set up, this particular guitar is set up for the overbends so much, but I'll be doing that in some other videos where I get into overbends. A very special video coming on that. But that minor 3rd. You can cry it. Cry the minor 3rd. You kind of cry the minor 7. Start up and come down a whole step. Come in increments. Go up in increments. Vibratos. Slow vibratos. Savoring like sipping that wine. Trills, hammers. When I use this E7 chord, I'm adding the 7, which is D, but I'm putting another minor 3rd on the top. That was one of the chords Jimi Hendrix liked to use so much, was that. The blues guys, because we can hit those 2 notes, blues out, and then I can get into that perfect chord. So anyways, I hope this video has been good to get you started on seeing your open blues minor scale. This has been a journey. It's just a journey in hoping that you start to learn intervals so that the intervals will lead you down paths and into your adventure, your journey of discovering what to do with the intervals in a particular scale, what the flavor is of the intervals. How do they relate to the key that you're in, major or minor or dominant? What about special intervals like the tritone, the flat 5? What does a dominant 7 or a minor 7 sound like? Do you hear the blues? Do you hear the seriousness in that note? How about the minor 3rd, the blue tone? How about the perfect 4th? I call the psychedelic tone, that A note. That A note. That's a very special tone to me. The perfect 5th locks us into nature, locks us into earth, which brings us back to the root, E. To me, it's a science, guitar philosophy. From all my years of teaching guitar and playing with many of the legends, lucky I was able to spend a good part of my life on the road with Albert Collins, the Icebreakers, meeting some of my great guitar heroes, my Johnny Winter, B.B. King, Big Twist and the Mellow Fellows. Boy, I had a lot of fun with those guys. And God, I got a little tear in my eye there. I'm crying for it. I get teared up sometimes when I talk about the blues guys and meeting Albert King and hanging out with Albert King and being so much into the styles, you know. Now it's a science to me because I bring the feeling in with the science, the mind, how our psychology, how we feel these notes, how our emotion gets into the bend and the certain intervals. Anyways, I've said enough. Please like the video if you like this one. There's going to be a part 6 coming up. And if you want more details and the charts and all the stuff that I have in teaching guitar, please join my Guitar Zone family. It's on the Patreon. And that way, if you join in at a level, you're really helping me out financially. And helping me financially means I can keep doing this stuff, okay, for as long as possible. I'm getting up there, all right? But I've got a lot more to teach you. So this is Robert Knowles saying, hey, great. We did the open E, or E open, minor blues scale. So stay tuned.